Hello everyone to electrifying clash in SuperUnited Rapid 2025. We have on the white places Caruana Fabiano faced the world champion Magnus Carlsen, shaking hand and start Caruana with e4. Carlsen came late as usual, adjusting his pieces. He is not in hurry, cleaning the board. And he will respond with c6, the Caro-Kann defense. So Caruana responds with d4, and we have d5 and e5, the advanced variation. So Magnus played bishop c5, and we have knight d2, e6, knight b3, controlling the c5 square. Magnus play knight d7, and we have knight f3 by Caruana. Carlsen took off his jacket and came back to play a6, controlling the b5 square. He want to play c5, of course, and we have bishop e2, c5 on the board, c3, and we have h6, controlling the g5 square from the knight and the bishop. We have castled by Caruana, and we have now c4, knight came to d2 and b5. So knight came to e1, he want to advance his bishop in the king side. Knight e7 by Carlsen, and knight c2 by Caruana. Bishop came back to h7, leaving the square for the knight, and we have f4. We have h5 by Carlsen, controlling the g4 square. He want to put his knight in f5. So g3, bishop takes knight, and queen takes bishop, and we have g6 by Magnus. He want to develop his bishop, and he will put his knight in on f5. Bishop d2, bishop e7 by Carlsen, and we have king g2. He want to advance his pawns to h3, g4, and we have knight b6. Now h3 on the board, and h4, g4, knight g3, rook e1. Continue Carlsen, pushing his pawn in queenside. We have a5 and bishop d1, b4, queen c1, and the queen d7. He want to castle long side or short side. Still rook e3, protecting his pawn on the c3, and we have rook b8. Bishop came to e1, want to take this knight, and knight came to e4. So bishop came to c2. Maybe he want to trade this bishop with the knight. So knight came to a4, and we have rook on b1. Pawn takes pawn. Finally open the p file, and pawn takes pawn. Now we have castle by Carlsen, connecting his rook. Fabiano played queen d1, rooks on b2, rook takes rook and knight takes rook. Still the position equal. Queen came to e2. Rook b8 by Magnus. And knight takes pawn on h4. Now the best move for Carlsen to play g5, but instead he played knight d3, so bishop takes knight and pawn takes bishop. Queen takes pawn on d3, and we have rook b2 check and rook e2, and queen came to b7, knight came to f3, and we have a4. You want to play a6. Now h4 by Fabiano. He wants to open the king side maybe. We have a3 by Magnus. Now h5 on the board. Pawn takes pawn and pawn takes pawn. And finally Caruana open the king side. So rook takes rook by Magnus and queen takes rooks on e2, and queen came by b2 by Magnus. So king f1 and queen came to c1, attacking the pawn in f4, so queen check from g2 and Magnus came to h7. So we have h6, threatening mate on one move from g7, so Magnus take, king takes h6, queen h3 with check, king came to g7, and we have now queen check from g2 and the king came to f8. Now the best move is f5, opening the position on the king, but instead he play king on h2, one checkmate on one move from h8. So the king escaped to e8, queen came to g2, leaving the pawn on f4. So Magnus took the pawn, king came to e2, and the queen came back to c1. The position is completely winning for Magnus. So king came to f1, queen d1, check with the queen from the g8, and the bishop came to f8. So the queen came back to g2, now leaving another pawn on c3. Magnus takes the pawn with the knight, and he has now one extra pawn. So bishop, so now queen came to f2, so knight came to a5 and the queen to e3, bishop came to b4, king g2, and the queen came to c2 on the another pawn, king came to h3, and Magnus trade the bishop, bishop takes bishop, and knight and queen takes bishop, and now I think he can take this pawn. He took the pawn on a2 and completely winning now, 2 pawns more than the white. So king came to the c1, maybe want to check from c8. Now Carlsen played queen to f2, double attack, he attacking the knight and threatening checkmate from g3. So Fabiano resigned and this is Positional Master Class by Magnus. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget like, share and subscribe. See you in the next video. Goodbye.